The tribes of the Gilfenwisk were scattered and broken, ravaged by coastal raiders and Britannic warlords. They hid in isolated crannigs and reed-thatched huts, trusting no one. Into this despair walked Lyulf, a man of no known lineage, his hair and beard the color of winter frost. He carried no sword, only a staff of polished bog oak. He did not shout commands. He whispered them, and it was said the wind itself carried his words. He taught the people how to read the patterns of migrating birds to predict raider ships, how to build wicker and hide coracles that could glide silently through the narrowest of water channels, and how to find the firm ways, solid ground hidden just beneath the bog's surface. He demonstrated his power not through battle, but by walking across the quaking mire of Grimm's Slough, a feat considered impossible. He spoke of the fawn as a living entity, a protector that would shield them if they learned to listen to its heartbeats. The chieftains, initially skeptical, saw their people thrive under his guidance. In a ceremony lit by burning peat, they swore fealty, not to a king, but to a keeper. Lyulf the Whisperer became the first Ethelgard, the noble protector of the fens. The strength of the Ethelgards was their secret knowledge, but it was fragile, held only in memory. Lyulf's great-granddaughter, Queen Eadlyn, understood this vulnerability. A scholar as much as a ruler, she feared a single death could erase a generation of wisdom. She initiated a monumental task, to map the entirety of Gilfenwisk. Not on parchment, which would rot in the damp, but on large, treated swaths of leather, cured with oils from the bog myrtle. Scribes and Fenrangers worked for 2 decades, using a complex system of knots, runes, and pictograms to denote safe paths, deep pools, fishing grounds, and sacred groves. These were the Willowweave charts. Eadlyn herself would spend weeks in the fens, her royal barge pulled by silent guardians, verifying the charts. She established the Order of the Fenguardians, an elite cadre sworn to protect the charts and guide the people. Under Eadlyn, the kingdom became truly governable. Trade flourished along the secret waterways, messengers could travel with speed and safety, and the kingdom's defenses became systematic rather than reactive. Her reign was not one of conquest, but of consolidation, turning whispered secrets into an enduring legacy of power. Peace was a luxury the Fens could not long afford. From the cold eastern seas came the first wave of Norse raiders, their longships more fearsome than anything the Ethelgards had faced. They saw the Gilfenwisk not as a kingdom, but as a wealthy, undefended coast ripe for plunder. They landed near the mouth of the great estuary, burning the outer villages. The reigning king, Cenric, was nothing like his scholarly grandmother Eadlyn. He was a man forged in the harshness of the Fon itself, grim, silent, and brutal when roused. He did not meet the invaders on the shore. Instead, he withdrew his people deep into the marshlands, luring the Norsemen inland. There, in the labyrinth of waterways and sucking mud, the Ethelgard way of war was unleashed. Fenguardians, their bodies smeared with mud for camouflage, struck from the reeds, their arrows finding throats in the disorienting mist. Whole raiding parties were led into quagmires and vanished without a trace. Cenric himself led the final assault, his warriors appearing like vengeful spirits from the fog at the Battle of the Weeping Stones, slaughtering the trapped and terrified survivors. Cenric saved his kingdom, but the cost was high. The blood tide introduced a new, harder edge to the Ethelgard soul. The greatest threat to the Ethelgards came not from the sea, but from within. Upon the death of King Ealdred, his twin sons, Osric and Bjorn, both laid claim to the Willow throne. They were opposites in every way. Osric, the elder by minutes, was thoughtful, just, and a strict traditionalist who believed in the sacred duties of the Funkeepers. Bjorn was charming, ambitious, and believed the kingdom's future lay in forging alliances with the powerful Saxon kingdoms of the Solid Lands, trading Fen secrets for political power. Their dispute split the kingdom. The elder lords and Fenguardians backed Osric, while the younger, outward-looking traders and coastal nobles supported Bjorn. The Willowweave charts, once a source of unity, were duplicated and became tools of espionage. Brother spied on brother. For a decade, Gilfenwisk was paralyzed by a cold war. Assassination attempts were made. Secret paths were blockaded. The kingdom's strength bled away into paranoia and suspicion. The crisis ended when Bjorn, in a desperate bid for power, attempted to guide a force of Mercian soldiers through a supposedly secret channel. Osric, forewarned, laid a trap. The Mercians were drowned in a flash flood, and Bjorn was captured. In a moment of tragic judgment, King Osric exiled his own twin, forever sundering the royal line. After the trauma of the sundered crown, the kingdom needed a healer. It found one in Osric's daughter, Ælfgifu. A woman of quiet intellect and immense curiosity, she saw that the kingdom's soul was as wounded as its politics. She believed their history, their faith in the faun spirits, and their knowledge of the natural world were the true sources of their strength. Ælfgifu dedicated her long, peaceful reign to creating this sunken library of Glimmera. It was not truly sunken, but built deep within the kingdom's largest and safest crannog. Its walls lined with peat to maintain a constant, preservation-friendly humidity. Here, she gathered not just the willow weave charts, but everything she could. Scribes recorded oral sagas, healers compiled herbals detailing the properties of every marsh plant, and astronomers noted the movements of the stars above the flat, wide horizon. Ælfgifu even invited scholars from Northumbria and Ireland, trading knowledge of faun remedies for the arts of illumination and poetry. Her reign was an intellectual golden age. The sunken library became the heart of the kingdom, a repository of Ethelgard identity. It was a time of reflection and renewal, a deep breath taken before the final, gathering storm. The climate was changing. Winters grew colder, and the spring thaws brought ever higher floods. The North Sea, always a threat, seemed to be growing more aggressive. During the reign of King Ordgar, a well-meaning but unimaginative ruler, the inevitable happened. After a week of relentless Atlantic storms pushing water into the North Sea, a massive storm surge coincided with the spring high tide. It was a wall of water, a great drowning, that overwhelmed the coastal defenses and surged miles inland. It was a disaster on a scale the Ethelgards had never known. Entire communities and their secret causeways were erased overnight, submerged under new, permanent waterways. The ecological balance was shattered. Ancient fishing grounds were poisoned by salt, and freshwater springs were contaminated. King Ordgar, a builder by nature, reacted by trying to construct massive dikes and seawalls, a frantic, desperate effort. He rallied his people, working alongside them in the mud and freezing water. But he was fighting the sea itself. While his efforts saved the kingdom's heartland, the Gylfenwisk was forever diminished, its territory shrunken, its people demoralized, and its ancient secrets buried under a new layer of silt and saltwater. The kingdom was now an island in a hostile sea. The weakened kingdom was ripe for exploitation. The Norsemen, now Vikings, returned not just to raid but to conquer. This time they had an advantage. Lord Deorang, whose family lands had been lost in the Great Drowning, festered with resentment. He blamed the Ethelgards for their inability to hold back the sea and for adhering to the old ways instead of building stone castles like the Saxon kings. Believing the dynasty was doomed, he sought to carve out a lordship for himself under new masters. In a secret meeting on a desolate salt marsh, he met with the Viking warlord Guthrum. In exchange for land and title, Lord Deorang committed the ultimate treason. He handed over a copy of one of the sacred willow weave charts. It was not a complete map, but it showed a key secret channel, the Eel's Spine, which bypassed the main Ethelgard defenses and led directly to the royal crannog of Glimmera. The Vikings, who had always been confounded by the Fens, now had a key. The betrayal was not just tactical. It was a spiritual wound. A secret passed down through generations, the very heart of the Ethelgard strength, had been sold for ambition and spite. The kingdom's soul was broken. The attack came with shocking speed. Guided by Deorang's chart, Guthrum's longships did not assault the coast but glided silently up the Eel's Spine under the cover of a new moon. They bypassed the Fingardian patrols who watched the wrong channels. The alarm was raised only when the first Viking longship rammed into the palisades of Glimmera itself. The battle was a nightmare. The defenders, accustomed to guerrilla warfare in the bogs, were forced into a desperate, conventional defense of their capital. King Ethelred the Younger fought with the courage of a doomed man, leading his housecarls on the main causeway. But the Vikings were too numerous and too well armed. They swarmed the defenses, their axes cleaving through shields and helmets. The great hall was set ablaze, the flames reflecting in the dark water. The sunken library, the repository of Ethelgard knowledge, was ransacked and torched, centuries of history turning to ash. King Ethelred was slain on the steps of his burning hall, his final sight being the victorious Lear of Guthrum. The battle was a slaughter, the end of the Ethelgard military power, and the final, fiery destruction of their organized kingdom. The kingdom was ash, but the people were not all gone. Gisela, King Ethelred's young widow and sister of a slain Fingardian, escaped the burning of Glimera with a handful of survivors, including her infant son. She was the last Ethelgard royal. Hunted by the Vikings and the traitor Deorang, she did not try to rally an army or reclaim the throne. She knew that age was over. Her only goal was to save what little remained, the bloodline and a single sacred artifact. That artifact was the Fonhart, a large, uncarved piece of bog oak, said to be from Lyulf the Whisperer's original staff, which was the ceremonial heart of the kingdom. In a final, desperate act of preservation, Gisela led her small band to the sacred grove of the Weeping Stones. There, she hid her son with a loyal family of reedcutters, making them swear to raise him as their own, with no knowledge of his heritage. Then, alone, she took the Fonhart and a few remaining royal trinkets, including her own silver brooch, and buried them deep within the base of a hollow, ancient yew tree, whispering the old rites of concealment. Her duty done, she walked away into the mists, her fate unknown, becoming a ghost in her own lost land. 12 centuries later, the fens are drained, replaced by vast, flat fields of black, fertile earth under an enormous sky. Dr. Eris Thorne, a landscape archaeologist, is supervising a dig prompted by unusual ground-penetrating radar signatures near a solitary, impossibly ancient yew tree. For weeks, they have found nothing but medieval pottery shards. He is about to abandon the site. Then, a junior archaeologist's trowel strikes something solid. Carefully, they excavate. It is not stone or pottery. First, a piece of wood so dark and dense it feels like stone, preserved by the anaerobic peat. Then, nestled beside it, a silver circular brooch, its intricate Anglo-Saxon design of intertwined serpents and reeds unlike any recorded style. As Dr. Thorne brushes the last of the black soil from its surface, he sees the faint, worn runes etched on the back. They do not belong to any known kingdom. They speak a name he has never heard in any chronicle or text: Gisela, keeper of Gilfenwisk. He stands up, looking out across the flat, silent farmland, and for a moment, in the shimmering heat haze, he can almost see the glint of lost waters and hear the whisper of a forgotten kingdom. The history of the Ethelgards, for the first time in over a millennium, had a chance to be told again.